work. Welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York. And if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. So I've got a question. How long does it take to flip a house? So first, let me define what flip a house means, what it means to me, what it could mean to other people. And the truth is, the real answer is usually longer than you think. So let's go through a few stages of flipping a house, what flipping a house means. So first of all, when I in the industry, usually flipping a house means buying a property, doing some significant work to it, and then selling it, right? That is what we consider a flip. Now, there's also other things I do, wholetailing, which means I buy something and I do very little or no work to it and put it on the market. That's obviously going to be quicker than flipping a house. And then wholesaling, which means I go to contract on a property and then I assign the contract to somebody else who's going to do the renovations to it. Obviously, that's the quickest, least amount of risk. But let's talk about flipping a house. So there's a couple of factors in flipping a house. First of all, in New York, there's a long period of time between when the seller agrees to your offer and when you actually go to contract. That can take a month to 3 months, sometimes even longer. But let's say we start the whole count as to when you actually close on the property, right? Because that's really when the money comes out of your pocket, and that's when the real clock starts. We'll talk about what that clock means at the end too. So you close on a property. Really, some of it depends on how much prep work you've done before to get ready. So do you have a contractor ready to go for the work? Do you know exactly what needs to be done? Are permits needed? And have you filed for those permits yet? Permitting can delay things 3 to 9 months. In some places like the town of North Hempstead, it can take even longer, right? There are a lot of flippers out there who won't deal with certain municipalities that take much longer. I know a lot of guys who won't deal in town of North Hempstead, and I completely understand it. Town of North Hempstead, in my opinion, is the worst municipality that exists in the world. I haven't dealt with every municipality in the world, but they are completely illogical, completely ridiculous. It takes forever. The things that they ask for are absurd. You cannot get answers. Even to find information on a property takes months. It's a nightmare. It's really a nightmare, and it's some of the nicest parts of Long Island, right? North Shore, Great Neck. A lot of those areas are beautiful, but you have to deal with a very difficult municipality. So let's assume you don't need permits. So let's take the permitting process out of it, and let's assume that you did some work, you did some prep work before, and you have a contractor ready to go. So you get into the property. The truth is, it depends on how much work you need to do. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about. With the first 4 years I was in this business, I gut renovated every house I bought. Right, I bought at auction, online auction, live auction, and I gut renovated everything. And it took a while, right? And what I realized after 4 years of doing it, because I'm clearly not that bright, and it took me 4 years to figure it out, is that I don't need to gut renovate everything. I can do what I should be looking at. The way I used to think about it is, I want to do everything in this house. I want to be like Tariq El Moussa from Flip or Flop, to the point where anybody who comes in here is going to just drop dead, fall in love with it. The truth is, a lot of the things that I did, open concept, all that stuff, were the first things that the buyers undid. So I changed my opinion about 6 years ago, and I said, let me do the least I can do to make money on this property. You may get to a property and it doesn't need that much work, right? Maybe it just needs a kitchen. Maybe it needs a kitchen and one bathroom, not the other bathroom. Maybe the flooring doesn't need to be redone. It only needs to be, the wood flooring just needs to be sanded and stained. There's a lot of shortcuts I've learned through the years. But the work, if you really have a good system going, you should be in and out of a property within 2-3 months. Now, obviously, all the other things we discussed, permitting, getting a contractor ready to go, your contractor might not be ready to go. He might be on another job. Also, there's an order involved, right? You don't want to do flooring first because that's going to get full of tape, paint, and spackle. So you want to do flooring last, for example. You want to do plumbing. You want to do walls, get rid of them if you're doing plumbing or electrical work. We're going to do that first. So there's an order to do things. If you do things in the wrong order, it's going to take a lot longer. But the guys who really have it down, in other parts of the country that I know, can get in and out of a property in 6 to 8 weeks. That's quick. Let's say you don't know what the hell you're doing. It's going to take you 4 months. Then you list the property for sale. Now, here's the part that nobody really talks about. It's going to take today 4 months, 3 to 4 months from when you finish the work till when you actually sell it. Now, why does it take so long? It takes about a month to find a buyer and get into contract. And everybody goes, oh, I'll have 1 million people who offer me $1 million to $10 million for this house. It's still going to take time for their attorney. They're going to have to do an inspection. Their attorney has to prepare a contract. Your attorney has to negotiate with them. The quickest I've ever seen is maybe a week, but usually it's going to take a month to get into contract. Then it's going to take them 2 to 3 months to get a mortgage. So you've got to figure it's going to take 4 months. So even if you really got things down and you do the work in 3 months, it's still going to take 7 months to get in and out of the property. And that's assuming everything goes exactly the way you planned it. And most things don't. Most work takes longer. The municipality catches you and says you need to file a permit for this, that kind of thing. They give you a stop work order. All these things happen all the time. So the quickest I'd say is 7 months. If you really want to be fair to yourself, you should count on taking it taking a year, right? 9 months to 12 months for sure is a very, very conservative approach to what will happen most of the time. Sometimes it takes longer. Now, I've been in properties longer. I've had screw-ups. Usually the screw-ups were my fault. I did too much work. For the first 4 years, I got into a point where I was rehabbing like 17 properties at one time. I wanted to blow my own brains out because it's very hard to handle municipalities and contractors and all those things. Those are the parts of the business that I don't like. Right? I do them, but I try to minimize them by either wholesaling or wholetailing as much as I can. Now, sometimes I do need to do renovations, major renovations, but I try to minimize that because those are the parts of the business I just don't like. Those are the parts of the business I feel like that are completely out of my control, right? It's hard to manage contractors. Most contractors are not good communicators. They're not going to be honest with you. They're not going to be, you're not going to do well. A lot of the guys are good with one job. As soon as you give them 2 jobs or 3 jobs, they completely drop the ball. Materials start going to the wrong place. That was what would happen to me. So I would say, 1 second, let me blow my nose. In New York, the quickest you're going to be getting out of property that you have to do any kind of significant renovations to is 6 months. You should really start thinking about 12 months when you get into a job. Again, if you have things down pat, if you have contractors who are super fast, you could do it differently, but it's not so simple. So the problem really is this clock that starts the day you close, because every single day you own a property, you are paying taxes on it, and it's very common in our area to have $12,000 a year in taxes. So we're talking about $1,000 a month divided by 30. You're talking about $33 a day just for taxes. Some places much more. I bought properties with over $20,000 in taxes. You're talking about $80 a day in taxes. If you borrowed any money, you have interest on that. You have to pay utilities on the property because the contractor needs electricity and heat if he's working in the winter, and he needs electricity with air conditioning if he's working in the summer. So you have to pay utilities on it. You have to landscape that property in the spring, and you have to shovel the snow in the winter. These are just the holding costs that take place. It's very common if I buy a property, even if I wholesale it, so I go in and get out of it quickly, it takes me 3-4 months, it's going to cost me sometimes $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 just to buy a property and sell it. Now, people in other parts of the country would think I'm crazy, but the truth is the closing costs in New York are significant. It costs me usually $10,000 to $15,000 to buy, $15,000 to $20,000 to sell a property, because the big chunk of selling is you have to pay a buyer's agent 2% on the property. So if you're selling for $500,000, the buyer's agent's commission is already $10,000. So you could have easily $35,000 in closing costs between the buy and the sell, and then you have other holding costs like interest costs, taxes. All those things add up. So it's important for you to understand that it's expensive. The longer you hold the property, the worse it is. One very, very good piece of advice I can give you: every property that I've lost money on, it was for the same reason. I priced the property to sell too high. I based that price on how much my costs were, and no one cares what your costs were. No one knows what your costs were. You have to price it for the market. So in all 3 of those instances, they were around the same time. I priced it too high. It sat on the market. Eventually, I dropped it to where I should have priced it. And if I would have priced it the right way, where I eventually sold it right away, I probably could have made a drop of money or broken even on 2 or 3 of those. It was just a time issue, right? Every month costs a lot of money, right? Every month can cost you $6,000. So you don't want to be pricing things based on your costs. And I see people doing that all the time, and I feel bad for them and sometimes they get bailed out, right? The market might bail them out. You only need one buyer to come in and say, hey, I'll take that property for too high of a price because I'm desperate. But it's a mistake. I firmly believe in pricing things low. But I would say, flipping a house in New York, it's very tough to get out in less than 6 months. And I'd say most of the time it's going to take 9 to 12 months. It's just the way it is. Things take a long time. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you are interested in finding out more about a course I have that teaches how to do what I do, go to howtoflipnewyork.com, COURSE. If you're interested in finding out more about coaching, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help me. And what else? Oh, please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. I don't always know what to say. You can ask any question. It doesn't even have to be about the video you're watching. And if it's a simple answer, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something I've covered before, I'll send you links to the videos. And if it's something new, I will do a new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching. I really, really appreciate it.